Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't catch it, this is the Board of Advisor podcast, and we actually have a very special guest on today. His name is Jay Doran. Jay brought books. You know why? Because Jay's going to teach me a thing or two. Actually, in honor of Jay, Jay has been in collaboration with me. Matter of fact, there's no one more persistent. There's no one better at follow-up. There's no one that can be sometimes more annoying with how well they follow up. You know, the guy calls me. I'm on another call. I'm almost like he's too good. Because he's not selling me. He's checking on me, but he's selling me at the same time. But he's just checking on me because he never goes for the sale. He just goes for the invite. So today what I did is I decided not to host a podcast of Jay. I allowed myself to say, you know what, maybe we invite Jay in to be part of that podcast interview. You know, maybe he interviews me a little, maybe I interview him a little. And it's a little bit of a shared platform because quite frankly, I think a lot of people have a lot to learn from Jay. You know, the thing that I learned and that we can kick off today is Jay Doran from Culture Matters. One of the things that you taught me best and most over the last 6 years of our banter, our friendship kind of evolution and building is that the better the questions are from the individuals who have the best experiences, the more we can impact others. And I think that's where we start today. Like, where did you begin sharpening those questioning tools or those questioning skills, right? You really are amazing at asking the question and backing off.
I'd say doing the opposite for far too long and suffering the consequences. Having partnerships break up that I wish didn't. People leave that I wish didn't. Not learning lessons that I wish I had. That's more abstract, right? Looking through my life, like almost like a snapshot just now. I can remember when the interview started where I was so anxious to be present. I wasn't even aware I wasn't present. I would come up with topics. Be like me and my counterpart and say, all right, this episode we're going to do, or this clip we're going to do is about this topic. And I'd hit play on the camera. There was no person behind the screen at the time. And then ask them that question. And then I watch myself in hindsight and look at how much I interjected, overtook the conversation completely unbeknownst to me at the time. And it's cringeworthy stuff to look back. But that would be the first thing that comes to mind is not listening for so long that I was almost forced to do it. Forced by circumstance, influenced by those around me.
Do you watch your prior videos?
No, but I have. And it hurts. I don't go out of my way to watch them.
I refuse to.
Where does the apprehension come from?
I only want to look forward. I don't even want to. For me, it's something that I think is deeper ingrained than just do I want to see how I performed or didn't perform, or I only want to look forward. For me, it's already over. That part is already over.
What are your thoughts of this quote? Soren Kierkegaard said, life can only be understood backwards, but must be lived forwards.
Well, obviously, hindsight's 20/20. So if you're going to learn anything, you're going to have to. That's what history class is all about, right? Like for the individuals that just didn't like history. Many times they didn't like learning. And, you look at King Solomon. King Solomon was all about wisdom. That's the thing that he wanted most. He had all the gold in the world. Matter of fact, 2.1 trillion in today's,
Wow.
if you were to calculate it in today's value, 2.1 trillion. We don't have trillionaires yet. And, that was his magnitude back then. And the thing that he asked the Lord for most was wisdom. So appreciating the prior so that you can craft a better future is probably not a bad thing to.
So in the spirit of that thought, it's 2015 or 2016 when Board of Advisors is officially founded. But did the idea, if I have that correct, did the idea come prior to that, and there was something blocking
there was never the idea. Yeah, like in my world, I didn't have a whole lot of options from the very beginning. I moved out of my house in 10th grade. I was on my own, and the only thing I had to do was learn from the experience of others. I always hung out with an older crowd. I always was wondering, how did that individual get that thing? And it wasn't even for me about the thing. I just wanted to know how they were able to do it. Because in my world of growing up, no one showed me how to do, in a sense, acquisition of anything that was what I would classify as like something somebody would want to have. There was plenty of, here's how you fix this or build that or whatever, but how do you acquire a thing was never taught. So I was always fascinated with, how was I able to create some sort of independence or accomplishment? And so when I found someone who had done it, it was usually someone who was older, more mature, more experienced. So my fascination was in, how do I connect with somebody who has already done potentially, I didn't even know if it was what I wanted to do at the time, but potentially what I want to do or may want to do, right? Like I wanted to befriend them, but then I also found that like, it's very difficult to do that if you're not valuable. And you can't be value when you haven't done anything. Like you can't be valuable if you haven't done anything. So then you have to create some sort of curiosity around, your fit, finish, polish, like look, the way you present yourself or talk, or you know what got me the furthest with the relationships that I thought would bring me the most in the aspect of experience transfer?
What?
Manners. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Clean cut, good manners, and being absolutely attentive to what they had to say. Because the biggest compliment to anyone who has accomplished anything is that you're receptive to what they have to say. I had nothing to offer other than my attention. Ironically enough, we're in an attention economy today.
Those first 6 months, what were you doing? How were you building
6 months of what?
the Board of Advisors?
It's simple. Create conversations. Relationships live inside of a conversation. Now, you may find no relationship in that conversation, and you may actually disqualify it the more experienced you become. But there's in this world of community and building community, there's no other way to conjure like a quality culture. You're the founder of Culture Matters. If anybody knows why culture matters, it's you. And it really begins with the citizens of the community who are abiding by a culture. Like it's all about asking, again, what you taught me most in the very beginning, asking the right questions, which create the right conversations, which lead to the right relationships. And then those relationships require an investment. And that begins with time. Being able to invest the time into those that you know long term are going to become valuable to you, and they are valuable to others. Because when you have that relationship and they are valuable to you, then now they are valuable to others, and you become valuable to others because they are on your side.
What relationship does vision play in that that development
Well, Jay,
of relationship?
honestly, if you can't see, you bump into things.
Because I have asking the right questions leads to the relationships with an investment of time will lead to opportunities, constructive outcomes.
Yeah, I mean, at
Where
the
does
end of the
vision
day,
play into
everybody
this?
wants to talk about vision. Vision is great, but vision isn't something that you sit down and do. Vision is something that evolves. And for most individuals, they don't know what their vision is. Therefore, they need to begin to do and set a trajectory around those that they admire for the qualities that they think are in alignment with theirs. Like, it's rare that an individual comes out of the gate with a vision. It's not impossible, but usually most humans, especially males, are trying to figure out who are they. Much less what is my vision for how I'm going to be able to accomplish or be such a thing. Many times they're trying to figure out who the hell they are, right?
On that thought, who the hell they are. So those that you've come across through the community of Board of Advisors, what are some of the attributes of the most successful period? Yeah, the most successful.
Well, the most successful are usually the ones that have a combination of work ethic and then strategy. And strategy is not a plan. Strategy is those who can think differently, creatively, and they are able to see what is possible. They're not necessarily sure how to get there, but they're continually playing the game of strategy in order to create that accomplishment. So, like, if we married probably work ethic and strategy and just a genuine desire for the thing, I mean, those are going to be the ones that win, right? And everybody says, hey, don't give up. But at the end of the day, that's the hardest thing not to do. Like, realistically, because everyone changes their mind. They change their business. You know, our entire, it's funny, and I think you watched, I don't want to give too much of behind the scenes in the first episode because we have to leave some mystery. But you watched a lot of my activity through the last probably 72 hours, 24, 48 hours. And our naming format, even in our directory with all the members, all of the prospects, referrals, leads, members, we start with the name. Why? I said it like multiple times. Why do we do the name first? The name of the person. Because the company always changes. Because they always change their idea. They change their strategy. They change their product. They change their platform, their service. They're always hunting and poking. The ones that are most successful change the least amount because their conviction for what they originally believe. See, the earlier you're able to identify with that conviction of where you're going and what you want to achieve, the more genuine it is, and the more you're going after, the more likely you're not going after somebody else's. Because many times you fall in love with what somebody else is doing. But the earlier, like, you know, you get out of high school, you're 19, 20 years old, and you want this whatever, right? Like, that conviction is more, the girl you fall in love with in high school is the one you can never forget, or the one, you know, after you get out, and it's an early stage, more intimate relationship because it's all fresh and it's all new and it's all more impactful and it strikes harder and closer to the core, right? Later in life, you just tend to more model after others. So the ones that find it earlier have an advantage. And many times, it's not something that you can just do. Sometimes it just happens.
What role do you see the ability to say no and or yes has to do with that process?
Well, most people can't say no, which brings me to one of our core solutions here in Board of Advisors, which is solve it all. At BA, we feel that we have created a network of relationships that can solve any problem, not just any problem, but we can solve all the problems. And we actually concentrated this into a solution where if you cannot do it physically yourself, we will pop the top and we will spray it on you, and instantly all of your problems will be solved. It's not something we recommend for everyone. It's a little strong, but we are perfecting the formula for those who don't have that big of a problem. We need a milder. This is made for like big problems, right? Solve it all. We're working on a milder version, which is called solve it some, right? Like we're just going to solve some of the problems. But if you want to get all of your problems solved, you can do a couple things. You can go to solveitall.com, or you can actually just join Board of Advisors. Either one works, or you can do both, because if you join Board of Advisors, we'll give you a few bottles of that as well.
Some of the things that happen, a part of the Board of Advisors community, the experience that lowers the chance of failure and increases success. What are some things that actually happen that come with this solve it all formula that you're promoting?
What are the
things that happen, or the variables that lower the likelihood of failure and increase the likelihood of success? What's actually happening in this Board of Advisors community for a member?
Okay, so everybody's like, what do I get when I join?
Boom. Yeah. What do I get to solve it all?
What are you bringing to the table? That's interesting, right? Yeah, why don't we think about that first? Because if you bring your best, and everyone else as a part of the culture is bringing their best, then the more individuals we have coming to that table bringing their best, you don't need to worry about it. What you need to think about is, how can you not embarrass yourself by not bringing something good enough, which is where the real growth starts. So the growth is it's a double-sided sword. It's challenging you to be more valuable, and it's giving you, like, our seal for Board of Advisors says, hey, anything is possible. And I have to live it. Like, when my member is weak, I have to be strong. Every weakness my member has, every challenge my member has, I have to live all of it. Every doubt they have, whether they're doubting themselves, whether they're doubting their product, platform, or service, whether they're doubting the economy. Hey, at the end of the day, they can be doubting me. I still have to be their confidence, because I am captain culture for who we are. Like, there's a, what's that saying? Heavy is the crown.
Do you actually ask someone, what are you bringing to the table?
I have to be gentle with that. And here's why. Most people genuinely want to be valuable and bring something valuable to the table. Yet, even when they do, they also have self-doubt, and they can't, even when they have real value, they sometimes are not able to acknowledge it, which is what I do best. I help them understand where their value is, because I want my other member to see the value the way I see it, because when they do, they know how to leverage it between each other, right? So I tread lightly there based on the conversation, because many times, even if they are wildly valuable to others, they still may not have the confidence until I remind them of the evidence.
I'm listening to this, and I've decided I'm going to participate. I'm showing up to the next quarterly gathering, how can I show up in a way that I'm most successful? What are some things that I need to lean into? Yep.
And this is where my good friend Dom and I bonded. Like, he made a call through a relationship where most of the best conversations start, right? And he thought he could just show up. You can't just show up. Like, you don't just show up to a meeting. You don't just walk in the door, right? There's a process.
What's that process?
Well, think about this. If you are part of a community, part of a platform, you've been integrated, you've been interviewed, you have been identified as an asset in the community, we've postured you with value, and we've put you on the agenda to be able to showcase why we have selected you to be part of who we are and what we are doing. Now, there is a perfect insertion of you into our fabric. I don't just get people willy-nilly stumbling through the door acting like they're an attendee to an event, because they're not coming to an event. They're stepping into an engagement where people have traveled all across the country to be there. And I mean, like, I got this guy, he flies his gold helicopter into the meeting, right? Drops in. He's a pro. He's wildly valuable to others, but he's there to cherry pick a few things, right? People have to understand what they're stepping into. There is preparation that takes place. I mean, some people require more than others, and some require almost no preparation. But our job is to ensure everyone is ready.
I go in there with an open mind, heart to help other people. What's in it for me?
Well, the biggest, okay, so I'm not sure if this is a conversation. I have so many conversations, but this might have been a conversation I was having with you. Those who know how to get the most understand how to give the most on the way in the door. So, like, you just answered your own question. You're coming in with high contribution, which is going to result in everyone wanting to be part of your world. So what I do in my job is to curate the best talent in every industry who has the right mindset of contribution and margin in their life where they can bring competency into your world. So you step in the door. I mean, it could be an interview. It could be a presentation. It could be a signature talk. It could be running a form. It could be whatever. But your time with the member in front of the crowd is not the most valuable time. The time contributing to the individual that says, I'm the one that needs a thing, where you can show people, you can show everyone that you can be valuable to anyone. You don't need me. I only curate that environment.
So people are sharing what it is that they have come to know, and then people are also asking for help.
Well, let's get
that's
specific.
The dynamic.
Let's
like the format
let's just
of
hypothetically draw some sort of specific scenario.
Like, so, I want to understand the layout, right? If I'm participating, I have this opportunity to share what it is that I know.
Pick anything.
Culture.
Okay, cool. What's the problem?
I think in the absence of it, the company.
So do you have an absence? Hypothetically?
Sure.
Or realistically?
At the deep level, if I didn't, I don't think I would have started Culture Matters. It was an absent culture.
Sure.
Wouldn't have desired to learn it, understand it, conceptualize it, and deliver it. Right.
So what was the biggest pain for you?
Not knowing where I come from.
As a human, as an entrepreneur, as...
Yeah, or let's say letting my people down and having them not losing their respect.
And how'd you do that?
Lived against the values.
And did you even have defined values?
At the time, no.
So how'd you live against something that wasn't defined?
My conscience. And feedback from seeing the consequences of seeing the consequences of doing things that were not in the best interest of the organization, which, yeah.
Like what?
Suffering not showing up on time, not staying late enough, not listening well enough, not putting it all on the line, like being all in, being kind of half in. You know, we're living at both. It's like both sides of my mouth. The saying, you know, realizing the hypocrisy. Right. If I had the title, I had the title. I had the implicit buy-in of the people. You know, you work for me. There's a lot of responsibility that is associated with that. Who am I accountable to? The answer is no one. It's not a public company. I'm accountable to my conscience, but I couldn't hear it until I fell, and then I could. And it's like, oh, I got to work around that. Oh, well, what are our values? What do we stand for? Who are we? I went through that experience, that discovery, and realized this is who we are, and this is what we can stand for, and shared that with the people, and got the affirmation, got through the conflicts that arise whenever you're sharing something new and people don't already respect you. You have to resell. Somehow got through that and realized, culture matters. I matter. I'm significant. You know, I can lead. You know, I should pursue this path. The failed student is now the teacher.
Why does somebody work for someone?
Probably the base reason would be to be able to support their wants and needs.
They need it.
You know, like sustenance, food, shelter, water, the basic economic needs.
They need the paycheck from you, or they respect you. So you made the comment, you work for me. Well, realistically, they either need you or they respect you. That's the only reason. You can absolutely say you work for me, but you cannot say you respect me. And on the lower end, it does not make you feel great. If somebody needs you and that makes you feel good, you are a twisted fuck. Now, you want people to work for you because they respect you, not because they work for you. And, my wife and I have this dialogue / debate. I want my team member to know why they're doing what they're doing. And I want them to stand on their own two heels and be confident with the evidence of what they're doing, because it's the best thing for my member, right? I don't want them to just be busy, and I don't want a great answer. I want them to be confident in what they're doing. So I will ask questions. And sometimes questions create confrontation, but it's healthy, because then we are getting somewhere. Do they understand what they're doing and how it benefits my member? Because if they do, they will do it better in a way that I can't micromanage or coach. So those questions that make them understand what they're doing, sometimes they give me clarity and sometimes they don't. But they also make them respect. Why am I asking them questions? Not to doubt them, but so that we both end up, even if it's arduous, in an end result that they are now more enthusiastic about what they're doing because of the impact to who we are serving.
In the most recent,
having that's a difficult conversation. So sometimes my wife is like, why are you doing? We value this person on our team. I value that person so much that I want to make sure that we are even better together, that I'm going to ask the hard questions.
What's something that you've learned from one of your team members in the last year? Something that really stood out to you?
Many times they're doing the job, but they're not finishing the job. And there's a big difference. Because if you don't finish it, then the next person in line isn't able to take what they have done and deliver it to the next person in the chain. And the next person in the chain could actually be the customer, the member, the relationship that matters most. So yes, the job is done, but it's not finished.
How about something that you've learned that's been constructive for you? Like you've learned from one of your team members.
I'm going to make it clear. So you brew the coffee, right?
Okay.
You smell it because it's brewed, right? You pour it in the glass and you leave it on the counter. It does no one any good. No one had a better day with a glass or a cup of coffee left on the counter. Now, me, I'm a killer. I'll pick that shit up and drink it later when nobody's looking. But it didn't get brought to the customer. So nobody benefited. Nobody felt the impact of what has actually been done, been prepared, and almost we have to finish the job.
What is your point?
My point is, as an organization, if you don't take the time to check on things, you will continue to write multiple checks for things that have already been done, but not finished. So it's a time and revenue factor.
How does that make you feel?
Well, fundamentals is where you win. So everybody wants to get fancy. Fancy is where you lose. Fundamentals is where you win. And it's a good reminder. Get fancy. As soon as you get fancy, you get brittle.
What was your biggest learning lesson for 2023?
For 2023, what year is it?
2024.
2023. Jeez. People will absolutely tell you what they think you want to hear to their own benefit.
Why do you think that is?
At the end of the day, I mean, everyone is selfish. I mean, I'm not being negative. I'm being realistic. Everyone is selfish. And whether they need something from you or they want something from themselves, they all want to accomplish. There's something in the back of their mind that they're trying to accomplish for themselves. The clearer you can see that, the better you can steer them for your own benefit. There is an art of war aspect to all of the dance that we do with others, right? If you can keep everyone focused in the trajectory of mutual benefit, everyone ends up in the best place. But if you are not verifying, again, a little checking keeps you from writing multiple checks for the same things that are done but not finished. So I just think there is from 2023, there is a solid reminder to not just listen to what people are telling you, but verify the evidence of their confidence.
What's your word for 2024?
If I had to concentrate it down into one word, and this isn't just because you are the founder of Culture Matters, but it is the actual appreciation and realization that culture is where stick begins. Because without the definition of culture, there are no citizens of a community. And I am in the community business. And I'm not even, I like business because I'm competitive and I like to put numbers on the scoreboard. But without culture, community doesn't stick. So a member becomes part of a community due to the culture which they believe in and want to abide by and they respect, right? So if they feel like they belong, then they will come and they will stay. Now, if you don't have definition to that, as enthusiastic or motivated as you are, the sharper the definition and the clearer it is on the stamp of their mind, then the more they understand how they belong, and the more they will bring others who also belong. Again, back to clear fundamentals. I think culture, and even one of my best friends, mentors, advisors, encouragers, even says, Mike, you need to sharpen your culture. Like, culture governs when you can't. Culture is something that is bigger than you, that even when you're not there, it still exists and creates the benefit in which you designed. Right?
What do you...
But
Go ahead.
if you were going to have dinner tonight, what would you have?
A steak?
Why? Are you a cowboy?
First thing that came to mind.
Is there a culture that you have not experienced that you want to experience?
As far as like a palate, like food?
In general?
Yeah, many.
Like one?
Germany.
Germany. Okay, so would you go to German tonight?
Without any obligation or and unlimited resources, why not? Depending on the buy-in of my culture, my relationship.
Fine. I'll make you a deal. We'll go out for steak and we'll have German chocolate cake after. How's that?
What makes you ask?
Yeah, see? No, I'm just... people are able to identify quickly the food aspect of culture, right?
I see.
So people love Mexican food, or they love sushi. Quickly they can begin to understand culture around food, right?
Sure.
I learned culture and my lack thereof from my wife.
Well, what's her
America
take on
has
culture?
a culture of non-culture. It's wildly interesting, but almost void of what's existing out there otherwise in the world, right? So, like when you go to, say, Italy, or you go to Asia, there is a culture that is so rich you cannot escape it. But when you come to America, you're kind of like, well, okay, so we're over here and it's a little like it's a country bumpkin, or you're over here and it's Miami, you're over here it's LA. Like it changes. There's not this thing that creeps in on you that you're in America, right? It's a melting pot, but it's also a missing pot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, less rigidity is the less accountability, the higher the personal responsibility of the individual.
Culture is what you stand for. And I learned that from my wife. They stand for family. They stand for doing the right thing. There are elements right down to the way they do their coffee, the way they communicate with each other in the house, and the way they communicate and present themselves outside of the house. If you are in the house, it's okay to be one way. You walk out that front door, You don't walk out that front door looking like a slob. You walk out that front door, put yourself together because you represent your family. There is a culture aspect that infiltrates every little aspect of life.
What values would
That only
define,
happens over time.
Well, what values would define the BA family? What are the values of, let's say that the Board of Advisors could consider itself a family in a sense. What values would lead to that family's Thanksgiving be exciting versus, I got to do this again this year?
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
So early
what
on,
would be some of the
there's
values,
stages
would you
to
say?
it. Yeah, there's stages to it. So early on, it was, hey, we are integrity, we are commitment, we are community. The problem with human beings is it goes back to being selfish. To find someone who is truly not selfish, because even the most successful understand that through contribution they get the most. So it's a weird dynamic on being selfish. They know if I give the most, I get more. They've tricked the system. It's crazy. So
have you found that they stop, or go ahead, so I don't want to interrupt you.
Well, the more successful they become, the more margin that they earn. Therefore, then they become deceptively intriguing due to they're playing a long game that most can't factor into their short-sighted mindset. So all of a sudden, it's like, oh my gosh, Mr. Joe Blow over here, all he does is give. No, Joe may be one of the older ones in the group, or one of the more wealthy ones in the group, but Joe is cultivating for the long game. He's playing the farmer game, not the hunter game, and he is looking at what's happening 10 years out with you. When somebody comes in that's moving at a much higher cadence, or they're focused on a much shorter time frame, they're not able to encapsulate his scope.
How I'm a member. How am I representing commitment within the community? What are behaviors that I can demonstrate?
Here's the fact of the matter. A good member wants to also engage with a good member. As soon as you get a bad apple in, you're going to lose both of them. So commitment to doing the right thing is not only good for the members, but for the membership as a whole, and the community, and the brand. So realistically, you get somebody in that is not good for membership, who is absolutely selfish. They're all going after the same end goal, but it's about the way you go about it, right?
How we go about it reveals, are our values real in action or just conceptualized? Meaning, are they just talked about?
No, are you able to deliver?
Or do we live them?
Are you able to deliver?
Let's say someone isn't. In our culture, we have prisons, we have a legal system.
Well, let's play Amazon.
Okay.
You order something.
Sure.
And it doesn't show up on the door. You want a refund.
Absolutely.
You want your money back. They did not deliver. Individuals come into something where you've worked very hard to procure valuable relationships that bring value to others. Sometimes the biggest thing you can do is say no to the ones that aren't ready yet.
Why?
That they are a danger to the community.
Okay, I have a quote for you. You give me 100 men. 10 of them shouldn't even be here. 80 are nothing but targets. 9 of them are real fighters. And we are lucky to have them, for they make the battle. But one is a warrior. We shall find him because he will bring the others back.
But the warrior isn't the one that's the toughest physically. It's the one that's toughest mentally, because that's where the battle is lost. The war is lost in the mind. And you only know when you dance on the line of, do I choose to quit? Enough.
When you're explaining,
You can't be that guy or girl if you haven't been there. You can understand it, but you can't be that warrior unless you've been there. It's impossible, because you have to dance on that line and make that decision not to quit more than the other person has to be the warrior. Because only the person who has been in the situation where they should quit, where they have decided not to quit, can decide not to quit under more pressure than the other person. Has nothing to do with anything physical.
whose responsibility in that quote, we have 10 shouldn't be here, 80 are nothing but targets, 9 are real fighters, we're lucky to have them, for they make the battle, one's a warrior, they'll bring the others back. Whose responsibility is discerning and acting on those that shouldn't be here?
That's a delicate conversation, because there's a propensity for certain individuals to be on the upswing while others are on the downswing, and being able to determine who is who at what point at a general sense of time. So think about it. You're in a different phase of life than I'm in a different phase of life. And even if I'm further along, I could be in a downtrend while you're in an uptrend, or vice versa, but we're also in the same period of time at the same place. So that's a very intricate decision-making process, which requires experience and gut instinct, and it actually requires being able to have a conversation and cue in on things that are not being said while things are also being said, so you can make a decision that this person is right for us or not.
What you just said about people can be in two different seasons, one on a downswing, one on an upswing, I think, and this is what I want your thoughts on, I think that's where the values, the behaviors come in, the morality of the person. So let's say someone is on an upswing but they're more junior.
Are they on their first upswing?
Sure, let's use that example. And
Okay,
someone's
we have a
more
problem
senior
there.
and they're in a
So
in a
there's
downswing.
concern on a first upswing, because then ego creeps in extremely quickly. Because if they have, listen, as a matter of fact, I actually had a genuine epiphany to create a subset of a community where if you haven't lost everything and got it back, and you're married and you have kids, then you're not in.
What are some of the lessons that come with all of what you just said?
What are the lessons that aren't? Go lose it all, go get it back, and go get it back with a family. Go get it back with a child. Go get it back with multiple children. And when you're older, now you're a beast. And you're humble. And you're wise. I mean, realistically, I don't want to be around somebody that's not. It's
Who does?
dangerous.
Who does
It's
outside of
dangerous to be
those?
around others. No. Who does?
Yeah. Who does?
Well, you get a guy, he drives up right here in your Lambo. Right? Oh, I want to. Dude. Let's go break this guy down real quick.
Shuts down that part of the brain. People
Here.
don't know.
When I see somebody who has a thing, you know what I ask them? Are you married?
Why do you ask that?
Well, if you're married and you're able to be that good to yourself, or you being that good to your wife, because, hey, if you can be that good to your wife and then do that for yourself, okay, I have a little respect for you. But if you're married and you have kids and you've given them everything and you still are able to do that, now I want to talk to you. Now you're worthy of my time. Because at the end of the day, if you're only able to do that for yourself, well, shit. I mean, you're just working hard, right? Like, it's easy to just work hard and then get a big ego and then get a Lambo or get a whatever. Like, at the end of the day, I want somebody who has real sacrifice for another human being, not just for $1.
You think values talk louder than things?
Well, I think...
Or I guess we'd have to be mature enough to hear them.
Actions speak louder than things. You know, have you ever watched the movie? It was, what was it, with Leonardo DiCaprio, where Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street. We did his launch, actually. My company, Biz Blueprint, supported the launch for Australia for his straight line sales system as the movie tailored off. Jordan was launching down in Australia. And, you know, he made a comment. The number one rule in sales is be enthusiastic as hell. That's what you do when you have nothing else to offer in sales, right? Because you have an energy transfer and you get them hyped on what you're doing, which creates a gravity and an energy for them to enroll in what you're doing.
They might, unbeknownst to them, buy into you more than the actual product or service, the outcome. That's how I'm following what you're saying, which isn't necessarily good because it's about the Amazon package showing up or not. Right? It's about the outcome. What does the service provide? What does the product provide? If they're hopped up on the person's enthusiasm, they may not even ask the questions necessary to vet properly, right? Trust but verify the product or service.
The enthusiasm
That's how I'm
is
taking what you're...
only a high energy version of a presentation or conversation. It's words.
Yeah, a more sophisticated buyer is going to be less engaged with that and more interested with substance.
A more sophisticated individual is going to want to ask questions and hear from your experiences to understand if you're real. They don't care about your enthusiasm.
Let's go back to members for a second. If we were doing the 10 commandments...
Let me just put a cap on that. So if we were to illustrate it, blunt instruments create the most impact.
Okay.
Doesn't necessarily mean it has to be something super sharp and fancy. A blunt instrument will create the most impact. Bring something of competence and weight and substantial to the table. That's not easy to procure.
How would you recommend one procure it?
Work.
What do you think? Do you think our culture is losing sight of that? Business culture. You have so much experience around business minds of varying degrees of influence, authority, and power. What are the business narratives in our culture saying today? What are some of the narratives that you see? How are they programming us?
Today is very tricky
to work.
The reason today is tricky because you don't know what is real. AI brings an artificial. I'm not even going to call it an illusion. I'm going to call it a delusion. If you think it's real, like AI is very good at presenting information or details, facts that, is it rooted in a human experience? No, it's information that is being sourced from, extremely large data sets, but which can aid a decision-making process or aid writing an email, creating a business plan. But there's a certain aspect of a human that has a gut instinct that is a creator, right? Bringing information to the table doesn't create the next best thing. It aids it, it contributes to it, but that human is the one that sees the vision that creates a thing. Like for me, I'm a maker. I make shit happen. And I don't even know how I do it. It's a gift. Like people have that gift. People, certain individuals that are listening are creators. They are makers. You know, they have an ability to take that information in an intuition and go, they don't, like my wife, she goes, you don't know what you're doing. I tell her, I know that. She goes, but doesn't that concern you? I said, no. Like, what would concern me is if I'm following somebody else that doesn't know what they're doing. I would rather be the one doing what I don't know that I'm doing instead of following somebody else that doesn't know what they're doing. That would concern me. I'm totally fine doing what I don't know that I'm doing because I'm convicted based on what I feel or see that is possible. Does that make sense?
I believe you. What has your wife taught you?
Oh, God, what hasn't she? Bruni is probably the most beautiful. She's the most beautiful, delicate iron fist wrapped in a velvet glove that you'll ever meet. And I mean that in every aspect. It's like taking the petals off of an orchid, wrapping them around that iron fist, and then putting that velvet glove on, spraying a little perfume, lighting a little incense. It's all amazing. But at the end of the day, she brings a complete substance aspect to the conversation because she brings heart and culture to the conversation. You may waver her on the surface. You may shift the way the velvet lays, but you're never going to sway the iron fist. She brings something that challenges all of my confidence, but also at the same time gives me all of my confidence. It's a very wild dynamic. And it's not the easiest because part of our dance is figuring out each other, right? Like it's almost, there are moments where we're either going to be absolutely amazing together or we may not be together, right? Like there's been those moments. And I'm not sure if our process of evolution is over. I don't know if we're past all of those moments, quite frankly.
When you met with entrepreneurs, in and around the community that...
I can tell you this, no entrepreneur that I've ever met has struck me down and stunned me the way that my wife does. When I first met her, I knew that was the one. And it wasn't necessarily, is she absolutely the most beautiful? Like she was stunning, and to me, it was my fit.
Wow.
Right? But to meet somebody that has accomplished anything, I don't care, it's dollars. Those things aren't even real. You won in a game that's not even real. Which is weird. Okay, you won, but did you actually win? No. To win a human over like that's winning. That then brings their most precious prize and asset, daughter, to the table. I don't know. It's business is a game. Marriage is life.
You were, sophomore when you decided to leave home? 10th grade?
I didn't decide. I mean, it was there was no other choice. The platform at home had expired. It wasn't there anymore. You're gone. That's done. So I'm out. I'm on my own. And, it's find a place, find a car, get a job, be independent, strike relationships, and earn support of others so that you can get through stages.
So the first 2 weeks, where were you? Friend's house? Someone's backyard?
The first 2 weeks, I went directly to a friend's house. And
what was their name?
John.
What and what? Why did he take you in?
Well, both his parents died too.
Really?
Yeah.
How did they go?
One was in a car accident. One was in cancer.
Oh, man.
So it was like, he had a situation that wasn't similar to mine, but it put us in a similar end result. So therefore, his parents had left him the house, and then, it was kind of a fraternal type of convergence.
If I recall correctly, John ended up becoming a founding member of the community.
He was at the first BA, yeah.
What are some of John's values? Like things that you describe his character,
John is competitive. John always wants to win.
What else?
John is he's like a fraternal brother. He's one that will absolutely challenge you, but he will also, he's going to be there. Doesn't matter whether you talk to him for 5 years and pick up the phone and call him. There's not a expiration, really. You know what I mean? Whether there's a difference or not, whether there's distance or not, it's just like, it's one of those things that it persists.
Over the years, what's one thing that stands out that he's taught you?
Well, sometimes people teach you what the best lessons they teach you are what not to do.
Oh, like Lincoln. I learn from everyone I meet. Usually it's what not to do.
Yeah.
That's what Lincoln said. What was your first job as having been a sophomore, now living with your friend John?
Well, my first job?
Like, how did you earn money at that time?
So what was the first way I earned money, or what was the first
legal, the first
job?
Legal.
Well, I was selling bubble gum.
Really?
Yeah.
In the early adolescence?
Best business I ever had to this day. I bought it for a nickel, sold it for a quarter. Right here at Deer Beach Middle School. Bought it at Candy Kitchen on my skateboard, threw it in my backpack for a nickel, loaded up, sold it for a quarter. A piece.
Really?
Yeah.
Huge return.
Dude, got busted by the cops at school, thought I was selling weed. I'm selling bubble gum.
How old were you?
I was in 6th grade.
So like 11, 12?
Yeah.
Okay, so the cops came up to you and said, you can't do this anymore? How did that unravel?
There was a tall, skinny, blonde kid with a short, fat blonde kid that were buddies. It was like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, all wrapped into one. And I'm on the basketball court one day, dude slaps me. I'm like, I didn't really get what just happened. I'm like, because I grew up my dad was not a gentle character, let's put it. So you just slapped me.
Wow.
I was stunned that it was a slap. Like I was thinking, why didn't you hit me? But then I just got slapped. Then I'm like, whoa, he's a little taller than me. Then I got a short, fat kid over here. Like I'm starting to analyze the situation, and I'm thinking, getting into a scuffle probably isn't the best thing to do at the moment with all this cash in my bag. So I ate humble pie, right? Then they caught me in a weird moment, kind of going through an area that was a little more like a dark corner, and they did it again.
Wow.
And I had to, but then it was more about my bag. It's like they wanted to get my bag because, you're always taking gum out, selling it and putting, cash quarters in. At a certain point, people are like, hey, he's carrying around a bag full of, coins and cash. So it was when they tried to take my bag, then it was a different story. Like, I'll take a smack, but you're not going to take my bag.
What did your father do?
Oh, I think he was actually, I think, he was always one to appreciate a little bit of heroism, in the sense of, like, you get into a scuffle, but it was a little bit of a, at the time, fisherman village environment. It was, Madeira Beach was a big fisherman environment, and the Madeira Beach Middle School was a very relevant environment to that. Today, it's a very prestigious, like, you got to get in and apply and all that stuff. But back in the day, it was not that. So they moved me from that school to a different school.
What about his profession?
But still, best business I ever had.
Did
Low
he have
stress? Everybody loved me. They loved the product. I'm making 5 times, and there was, it was easy.
his profession?
Who?
Your father.
Oh, man. It's a good question.
What about mom?
God, that's another good question. And that's one of the things, even to this day, like, sometimes people judge you from the origin of where you came from. My mom was a sweetheart. And at the same time, like, you also want certain individuals in your life to have a backbone and stand up for you. And even if they do in their mind and they don't in the real world, it creates challenges for you, right?
Totally.
And then you have another individual which was not shaped very well, and there was a loose, wild dynamic to the way they went about things, right? When you grow up and you tell yourself, I'm never going to be like him, because, again, I told you, certain individuals in your life show you exactly what you shouldn't be doing. That's the best stuff he ever taught me, what not to do, and drove me away from a lot of that. Like, I think I am where I am today because I don't want to be like that, which sometimes also creates an unhealthy dynamic. Like, some of my closest friends say, hey, the way you work is unhealthy. It actually creates a bad result in other areas of your life, right? So, what did he do? A lot.
If there was an endearing quality, what would you say was, that he exemplified? Even if not even...
I mean, his intentions were good, but people don't judge you on your intentions. They judge you on your actions. So that having great intentions is only good for you. It's not good for anybody else, which is what distorts your reality of yourself.
What can we learn as far as the community in that conversation? Having great intentions is not how people judge us. They judge us by our actions. What can we draw from to have more self-awareness?
Well, the number
on
one
how to show
rule,
up best for each other.
The number one rule in leadership is to understand that for the most part, you're probably talking too much. Your perception of how things should be, many times you are giving the same advice from the same perception and the same talk. And if you're not continuing, like, you have to challenge yourself. Let me listen, and how can I ask a better question? That's why I like you so much.
Thanks.
Or respect you from the beginning. Did you really know what you were doing at the time? No, you were putting in the effort, but you were asking great questions. And even if you were enthusiastic as hell, but didn't know what you were doing, you were putting in the energy, which I knew was going to turn into something great because you had the desire to ask great questions. And at the end of the day, was probably going to create a great podcast, which was going to create a great brand, which created great persistence, which followed me for 6 years to this table. And now at a point of a rebirth of BA, the community and the culture, you get to be part of it.
And it's a great honor. I get to learn from you over the years and through our ever-evolving dynamic, and to see and to be close to something that I think that I believe in. So in that spirit, right? What can the listeners that are a part of the community or interested in becoming more involved in the community, or applying to be involved in it for the first time, what can they be excited about? What's on the horizon? Where is Board of Advisors going in your mind?
Well, the number one thing anyone wants to be part of a community for is to belong. But they only want to belong to something that they believe in, right? So BA believes in finding the gold in the individual and connecting those individuals for mutual benefit. If we're not mutually benefiting, if we're not winning together healthily, not unbalanced, now, it doesn't mean we win simultaneously. It means we win mutually, and we win together, and we win long term, right? To be able to say no is the ability to afford a better yes in the future. So the future of BA is to say no to those who aren't ready and the takers, because we have a vision for the best platform for the makers, the ones that make us valuable and make opportunity for others. So takers are the villains of a community, right?
Mike, thank you.
Is this over already? I thought we were. I thought we get a Hey, when you step into my world, hey, breaks.
That's your bad moment, you know.
What?
Thank you.
Well, if I shake your hand, it means it's over. Is there like a clock that's expiring?
This conversation. What thought do you have now that you may not have had before or have forgotten from this conversation? Even has anything crystallized or become more clear?
So, my first job, which you asked me and I didn't answer because I actually liked my first venture better, but my first job, which I had two prior ventures, I was selling gum, right? Which was a little bit of a sticky situation, but it was a sweet deal. In my second venture, I was cutting grass. I did a lawn service on Isle of Palms in Treasure Island. So basically I was in paradise on an island filled with palms where people had houses, and I was cutting their yard. It wasn't a bad situation, right? At the end of the day, though, you were still working like out in the hot sun. So I get a job at McDonald's, which was on the corner, like right by, I spent more time on my bicycle, skateboard, between all the different beaches. I knew every crevice, every corner. There wasn't somewhere where I hadn't been on my bike to explore or moped, skateboard, whatever, right? And so I'm like, let me try this job thing. McDonald's, right? I don't know what it was. It was like, at the time, Michael Jordan was on McDonald's. Everybody was doing. So, you had the Hamburglar everywhere. Matter of fact, I got to be the Hamburglar one time. It was wild. They're like, hey, who wants to do it? I'm like, dude, I'll do anything. Give me that suit. Honestly, worst decision I ever made. You never put on a Hamburglar suit in a parking lot in Florida in the middle of the summer unless you want to die. Like it's a coffin. It's horrible. But it was exciting for the first couple minutes. Then they say, hey, why don't you do the drive-thru? I'm like, that sounds cool. So they give me this headset. And I'm back in this little box, right? And they're like, hey, all you got to do is you got to tell them, hey, welcome to McDonald's, or, can I take your order, please? I'm like, bro, I could say that shit all day. Like I could actually do I could sell gum and sell yard jobs and take orders at the same time. I'm thinking, this is the easiest thing I've ever done. And the air conditioning. So I'm back there. Hey, welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your order, please? They said, what? They're like, what did you say?
You didn't sound like this at the time.
Dude, I was 14.
You were coming into
I was 14,
puberty,
bro. I had the same voice. They're like,
this is out of control.
Can you say that again? I said, welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your order, please? The girls would be like, oh my God. It'd be like, Beth. Sir, can you say that again? I'm like, I would have a ball all day long just saying, welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your order, please?
Then how did it take this long to start a podcast? You were gifted with this affirmation.
Because I work. It got in the way. Work got in the way. Sometimes effort. Effort
37
versus expertise. But hey,
33
at the end of the day, sometimes you don't know what value you bring. Just because you have the horn doesn't mean you know how to blow it. Right?
What? Okay, go ahead. I got a lot of questions now.
So now,
part two.
Dude, it was a problem to get them from the actual ordering menu to the window because they just kept trying to ask me questions. Okay, so I'm 125 pounds.
Wow.
Or maybe 120. I was in 8th grade, 9th grade. No, 8th or 9th grade. I was 14. Whatever grade you're in when you're 14. I think it's 8th grade, right? Yes.
Yeah, it could be that. Yep.
I'm 14.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
8th grade.
It was the summer going into 9th.
Wow.
So then they come to the window. I got pictures of this. I can show you.
Unbelievable.
I have pictures. They come to the window. Before I open my mouth, they go, where's the guy that we were talking to? I'm thinking in my head, what do you mean, where's the guy? I'm the fucking guy. I'm the guy. We just talked.
I shouldn't laugh. I get it. I see it.
Hold on.
Yeah.
No. Here's what they would say. And I'm going to tell you what they would say.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be disrespectful to anyone because I honor everyone for the most part. They go, where's the guy that took our order? And I said, I'm the guy. They would look at me like, what? They go, man, we thought you were some huge, ripped, muscly black dude, is what they told me. I'm like, huh? To me, this was new to me. My voice would literally crack, pop, whistle, crazy. And it just started kind of toning down, right? And then I realized, it wasn't necessarily as normal as I thought it was. So I realized, they are always putting me in the drive-thru. Almost to a degree, I think they thought it was a security measure. You know what I mean? So it was just broadcasting out to the public. There's some dude.
How did you process that at the time, right? I'm thinking, I'm 13, 14 years old, high elevation affirmation on the end.
Well, no,
and then
I was completely unconfident. I had nothing to be confident about. I was growing up, what was I going to be confident about? I was putting goop on the bottom of my shoes to plug the hole so that I could get an extra mile out of them. I was dyeing my blue pants because we weren't able to afford new ones, but I didn't want necessarily them to look like the old ones. I always had a way to make it look as if it were new or polished or presentable, but I never was able to really and people tell the fucking sob story about being broke. They don't know what broke is. I would literally get extra ketchup and barbecue and mustard sauces and crackers and dude, we would get 39-cent hamburgers, and I'd load that up with every condiment you can possibly get, because, you know, if you got a couple bucks, you either got 4 or 5 hamburgers or you got 2 or 3 cheeseburgers. I'll take the fucking hamburgers, man. I'm a grown boy, right? So coming from like measuring the pennies, you know, there was a lot of doubt when others are running around with their Air Jordans and, you know, their parents are buying, like, you know, they're turning 15, 16 years old. They can't even really drive yet by themselves, but they got a $40,000, $50,000 car at the time. You know, like you're thinking, how do I compete with that? Like, how, from a get a girlfriend standpoint, how do I compete with that? No, I did. I competed. But your mind at the time, like, you're now under like that warfare of trying to figure yourself out. Are you valuable? Are you not valuable? What value do you bring to the table? Are they going to judge you based on what you're wearing or not wearing? It's always usually about what you're not wearing in that time, because everybody's got the cool thing, and I had nothing cool. I had nothing cool. Like, literally nothing. Sometimes you just want something cool, right? So even to this day, my wife is like, dude, why does everything have to be so organized and perfect? And, you know, it's all about the presentation. I'm like, look, it's not a bad thing. Presenting yourself well is not a bad thing. In wanting, even if you don't all the time, wanting to, it's not a bad thing. Matter of fact, first impressions are everything, right?
Looking back, what feelings come about when you think about how you may not have been presented as cool then, but, you know, you're I would say you're cool today. So to go from being uncool,
everybody calls bullshit on you, regardless of where you're at. Doesn't matter. Then it was easy to say, from, let's say, a competitor's perspective, it was easy for them to say, I'm better than him, or you know, to give me the discount. Now they want you to lose, because they want themselves to feel okay about how lazy they are. It's like, oh, see, even he, dude, get out of here. It doesn't matter whether you're able to demonstrate it every second of the day, every moment of life. Either you're a winner or you're a fucking loser, dude. That is it. Because even when you're losing and you're a winner, you're still winning. You're just going through some losing bullshit for a moment. But the winner knows how to get through it, right? And the winner is only going to stop being a winner when they quit. People only want you to lose to make themselves feel better. Trust me, I know.
You're talking to someone that's in a season of struggle. What do you grab them by the collar? What do you say to them?
I'm their best friend. And I know if they are trying, I will try harder. But if they won't try for themselves, I can't help them. If they're not going, it's not that I can't help them. Nobody can help them. If they're giving up on them, I mean, it's good to encourage. It's good to support. But it's hard to help somebody that's given up on themselves unless you want to carry them. So you got to decide, are you the warrior now that's carrying everybody back? Because at the end of the day, there is a place and time to be the warrior. But you also have a cost for that. You have to understand, is your family going to pay that cost? Are you going to pay that cost? Is this, like, what is the context of this?
Well, it's
because at the end of the day, if they aren't paying that cost, they're not going to learn that lesson. And at the ultimate lesson sacrifice for themselves, that's sometimes the best thing for them to do is learn that lesson and hit bottom. Hey, I'll ask you this. There's no way that you can have a better perspective of the best direction of where you need to go than to be at the bottom. Because the only place you can see is up.
What are you asking me?
I'm only sharing.
I want to read line for line the quote because I want to, for a word thing, I want your thoughts around bring versus carry. So out of every 100 men, 10 shouldn't even be there. 80 are just targets. 9 are the real fighters. And we are lucky to have them, for they make the battle. But the one...
I did the math the
One
first
is
time
a
you read
warrior.
it, and I knew there was one missing.
Yeah, good. I'm not surprised. But the one is a warrior, and he will bring the others back. So I wrote down bring versus carry. What are your thoughts? What do you think it means by bring the others back? Right? Is it that 10 shouldn't be here, 80 are nothing but targets, 9 real fighters, we're lucky to have them, for they make the battle.
Well, the difference is this.
Bring the others back. How are we bringing them back?
In one, there's a question. In one, there's no question. If you're bringing others back, I'm going and you're coming with me. There's no question. If you got to carry somebody, now you're seeing it as weight and a responsibility. If you are bringing them, you don't carry presence to an engagement. You bring them. It's a privilege, and it's something you want to do. It's something you take pride in. You are walking in that door with a present to give to somebody that you want to bring value to. It's something that you do because you want to do it and you feel great about it. And there's a cost to it, and you actually enjoy it. You go out and you expend your time, energy, and money to create that present and bring it to a destination. You're not carrying a gift anywhere. You're delivering it. You're bringing it.
Bringing value.
I forget what the movie was, but it was a pretty interesting situation where there was a gentleman that was injured and there was a gentleman that was not injured, and the ability to get both of them through the valleys and over the mountains it was not possible. But the non-injured individual figured it out, and he did it. In the way that he did it, there wasn't a hesitation. There was only this. There was this mannerism of word. Even the fact of his demeanor never looked back. He only looked forward, and he only brought that person with him. And even when the person felt like giving up to lighten the load for the person bringing him, not carrying him, bringing him, that person wanted to die to leave so that the person bringing him had a lighter load, and he wouldn't even allow it. Different level, dude. Different level.
That brings up this thought, the spirit comes through how we serve our customers. If you look at passion, the word passion, it comes from service. So I'm curious what your thoughts are. The spirit comes through how we serve our customers. It's like in that example, that person was serving their counterpart. They were, I hear a story like that and I think of culture as a consequence of service. Who are we serving? We're serving the customer. So the spirit comes through how we serve our customers. What is the spirit? It's not doing something I may want to do now because of what could happen later. It's sacrifice. It's vision. It's like a courageous act. Like, think about this show right now. There's other places we could be. There's other responsibilities that we have in our lives. There's things that are stopping us from being present. This could be the last conversation either of us ever have. But imagine not get, so if I'm with you, I'm going to give everything I have. There's a level of courage in that because it could be the last conversation I ever have. Because I don't know what's going to happen after this. So there's a degree of sacrifice in being present, intentional, serving. And so...
I think you were asking me about service and
yeah,
passion.
and then I just went on a whole...
Service and passion, was that it?
Yeah, the Spirit. So this is the proposition I'm laying out, is that the Spirit comes through how we serve our customers. Because the passion has a relationship with service. So I'm serving the customer. My employees, the people around, they see how I act and interact. They learn how to act and interact, observing how I behave. And we can easily lose the passion as we have more and more things to respond to. And it's always reevaluating and looking at, where are my customers and who am I to them? And there's this relationship, relationship. The relation, we're relating to one another. When you told that story, that's what came to mind. He was serving his customer. The person that in the absence of him, that person would have a problem. They'd be dead. They're in trouble. So the onus falls on the most aware, the one with the most access to information. If I have a product or a service and I'm offering it to a customer, they need to have blind faith in a sense because they don't have the information I have, or else they'd be me giving that product or service to them. There's this faith, there's this risk, there's this giving up short term for the long term, right? Money exchanged for goods or services. Their money is valuable in the short term. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. They give the money for a future outcome. There's so much character on the line. There's so much, they pay me, and then I could pass away the next day, and they don't get the return on their. So
do you see that green book?
I do. It's huge. Yeah, it's huge.
You know what? That's your favorite tool right now. Grab it. It's okay. You can move the paraphernalia.
Holy moly!
Yeah, it's a very special book.
It's heavy.
Yeah, well, it's one of the most competent dictionaries you can possibly buy. Don't actually show the cover on camera because it's rare, and I don't want anybody breaking in here.
Wow, look at this.
Now, look up the word passion.
All right, let's do it.
Well, you kept saying it. You said it like 16
passion,
times.
passion,
If you're
passion.
gonna say a word that many times, you're going to make it look it up.
Yeah, passion. It's under P.
It does start with a P.
An A. It should be in here somewhere. Sorry, the chessboard.
It's as thick as a phone book. See,
This
phone
is
can
massive.
be tricky. Still starts with a P, though.
All right. Okay. PAS. I've never.
The pages are so thin, it gets a little weird.
Yeah, I haven't done anything like this.
Well, I'm just surprised that you can see this shit because I couldn't see it.
Sorry, there's a lot. Oh, here. Okay.
I'd have to get Dom over here to read it for us.
Yet. Here is Pash.
Oh wait, you gotta just use the mic so everybody can hear you on the recording.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. Passion.
So many words in there, right?
Yeah.
Are you lost for words?
Yeah, this is. Oh, I wasn't even looking in the right. Passable.
Usually it's
passable,
alphabetical.
Passion. Oh, here it is. Yeah, passion. Wow. Okay, passion. To be. Wait, no, that's. Passion is to be extremely agitated, but passionate, easily moved to anger, easily excited or agitated by injury. So that doesn't really. Well, then there's other one. Passionary, a book. No,
Read passionate again.
Passion. Yeah. Oh no, here's another one. The impression or effect of an external agent upon a body, that which is suffered or received. A body at rest avoids us, no idea of any active power to move, and when set in motion, it is rather a passion than an action in it. Whoa, I'm going to read that again. Yeah, passion.
Yeah, we could come back, Dom. We could come back tomorrow. He'd still be sinking
This
into.
is the impression or effect of an external agent upon a body, and which is suffered or received. And then there's a susceptibility or impression from external agents. Suffering, empathetically, the last suffering of the Savior, to whom also he showed himself alive after his passion by many infallible
the reason
proofs.
I had you look it up.
The feeling of the mind of the sense. Well, there's a sacrifice. They're talking about
I know.
Christ.
Yeah, because remember passion.
But this is
Christ.
the point I'm making. Like,
Remember the movie Passion of Christ?
if I give it all on this conversation,
But that's what service is. You asked me service and
Yeah.
passion.
that's what
what
I'm
they-
trying to associate them with.
But you asked me the difference when they're a synonym, not an antonym. I mean, I don't want to break out the grammar on you, but damn. We can go right to the dictionary if you want. Oh, wait, you are. So it's not. Look, it's.
It's fun.
This is why I have this stuff around.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Dom tried to clean the table off today. I'm like, bro, you got to put that stuff
If
back.
I'm truly invested 100% in the relationship, there is nothing outside of it in that moment. This could be the last conversation I ever have.
Yeah, but you're only invested when you're investing.
What do you mean? Ooh.
It's easy to say, I'm invested in the relationship. It's not easy when you are required to invest in the relationship. The only way you are investing in a relationship is if you have the passion or service to do so. Same thing with marriage. Same thing with your business, your customer, your employee, your contractor, all of it. Again, at the end of the day, remember I said heavy is the crown. The reason you wear it is because you can support it, because it is a sacrifice and a privilege. It's not for everyone. Remember, 100 and one comes back.
Well, the 80, they need you.
Who?
Us.
So you've been with us. You've been in the BAHQ layer for 2 days now. What is one of your top takeaways?
You care. And your people care about you. And the work that you and the team do makes a difference in other people's lives that they may or may not realize. And it's unlikely they would. In the absence of having experienced it, like, participating in the behind the scenes to some degree, and and then I think, well, in large part it'll be they do, and they have in the years that their lives have changed for the better.
Yeah.
By what's by the symphony. It's like being behind the scenes of the maestro, practicing with the orchestra and looking at each note being discussed over and over and over, and then later other people are going to show up and see the show and be taken by it and whisked away, and beauty and transcendence.
What about the
having
push-ups?
never known? Okay. Yeah, I haven't done this many push-ups in a while, and I like it. It's been a positive.
What's the first thing you did on day one?
More push-ups than I had done for a month.
Yeah.
Love it, and I like that. Shout out to Dom, a leader. Looked at me and said, "You're next." I think that shows the culture, the trust he has in you, the safety you've created, the admiration and the mentee and the mentor. Because, he just looked at the someone in the culture and said, "You're next." I was like, "Oh, yes." Grateful to be honored with the invite to do the push-ups, to suffer a little bit with the passionate few that influence many people that are participating in board of advisor of the community. So, it's been very exciting to see also the evolution and the to get a glimpse of the value that people now, years from now are watching this and saying, that was a turning point, another level of the adventure that we've been participating in. There was a quote I wanted to read in the beginning that I didn't. I'm going to read it now. And it goes like this. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. I think Carl Jung, as an outside stimulus coming inside this environment, I'm transformed, and I'm excited and passionate to serve.
Don't worry about those mere pawns.
Yeah, they shouldn't even be here.
I told them, listen, get out of the way. So, what happens if you're like, you have dual personalities and they both meet and then that reaction takes place, but it's all within one?
Conflict is inevitable. The question is, what type is it? Deconstructive conflict is when we can easily succumb to the momentary emotions and go against each other. Constructive conflict is when we recognize that, take a step back, breathe, and then come back in against the ideas. Jung said, people don't have ideas, ideas have people. So when I'm looking at you and you're looking at me, there's us as avatars or vessels of ideas. Then above us are these little thought clouds. Let's battle in the clouds and not battle amongst each other. So it's inevitable that our ideas are going to have conflict with one another. They're going to, there'll be a mosaic that we're trying to paint this painting together. I don't have all the colors on my palette. You may not have all the colors on your palette. You may not. I don't even have a brush. I need your brush. We've got to cooperate to finish the painting. So it's inevitable that, and beautiful and healthy and necessary that we will have antagonistic ideas that complement one another. It's part of the beauty of culture. And you brought up about the American culture. The differences increase the degree of inevitable conflict. And it's that integrity of the individual, the ability to speak, the ability to have an opportunity. That's a challenge to the individual's responsibility, and that creates
not necessarily healthy
beauty.
Conflict. It's like a healthy collision where you're making each other better, right? So iron sharpening iron, right? You're making it when it's a healthy collision. You're actually sharpening each other up.
Collision of ideas versus
the culture code
versus
really explains it
collision
better
of
than I did it.
Personhood.
Yeah. But that design of collision that creates a bond.
But by the way,
there's stick there.
The person in power, the person with authority, the person with title, dictates the lever of safety. of dialogue.
Yeah.
The person, and that's one of the reasons that people like myself exist. Those that are on a consultative or advisorial nature. What's the value of the board of advisors? It's those leaving their culture and coming to a metaculture and being broken down and rebuilt to go back to their armies better. Is that the person with the title, the person with the position of power sets the tone, safe, unsafe, thought, no thought, they based on how they relate to others, how well they listen, how honest they are, how quick they are to, let's say, how accessible they are in communication. Their work ethic that you've mentioned, that I've seen a great deal of.
Speaking of work ethic, what have you noticed because a lot of, I think, individuals that see what we do from the outside feel like it's glossy, easy, a couple events a year. I mean, like, I don't think they
Mike,
understand.
if you didn't have Herculean work ethic, I wouldn't even be here. Plenty of better places. There's plenty of things to do. Your unbelievable stamina. Yeah, it takes a special person to sacrifice their life. And I think generally when it comes to entrepreneurs or those that consider themselves founders or the chief of executives, if the business isn't eating them, then the business is eating everyone else. It's just sacrifice comes with starting something. It's so your work ethic and the people, your team, the ones I've observed, they're putting in the time, they're putting in the investment, and they're doing it because they are passionate, and ultimately it's at the betterment of all of the businesses. You think about how many businesses, how many employees, and how many families are impacted positively because of a handful of people that have dedicated their lives to BA, that work with you behind the scenes. It's unbelievable if I really think about it out loud. All of those people that are impacted.
We've been here all day working. It's almost 2 a.m.
Yeah,
We're still in the studio, recording.
I mean, it's pretty late.
Yeah. I don't even know what time it is.
I love it. I left yesterday so excited to get up. I had so much fun. I couldn't wait to get here, and I could only imagine what. Yeah, so that would be my feedback. And in the absence of a work ethic, I want to say it one more time for those in the back, of someone that decided to found a culture, found a business. In the absence of a work ethic, who wants to work for a tyrant? And the tyrant is implicit. It's implicit tyranny when the leadership isn't working harder than the people. Not even just as hard, but harder. When those at the top of the hierarchy are not working harder, that's implicit tyranny. Now, they can be tyrants in all sorts of other ways, but meaning you could be, if you're at the top of the hierarchy, there's plenty of places, entitlement that comes with being at the top. Entitled to take a day off, entitled to go on another vacation, entitled to do anything but get things done. And it's deceiving, and I see it destroy cultures slowly. And so, no, one of the things I admire about you, which is why I would follow up for 6 years, is that you work. A lot of the other things can be unlearned. People that don't work, what are they doing? Oh, I know what they're doing. They're buying into the next get-rich-quick thing. Okay.
If you had one more question before we end our session, because I have push-ups to do. Dom's keeping track of the ones that I haven't done yet, so I'm sure I have more to do than I thought I do.
If you were to, wrap this in a bow,
one good
like
thing
a
about
theme.
Dom, by the way.
What? There's many good things about Dom, but yeah, what's one that comes to mind? That's my last question.
Accountability.
What do you mean?
Accountability on the small things.
Do you mean that how he would always come out and say, hey, it's time for push-ups? Because I did
here's
notice
what I like
that.
about it.
Yeah.
I've known him for a long time.
Admirable
And now
trait.
he's running the studio, and he's,
Yeah.
in the HQ every day. But when I first interviewed him, like I've known him for a while, but then I interviewed him. I said, "Look, what is like one of the top qualities you bring to the table? I see you're pretty motivated. You get things done, but what is some of the top? Like, give me the best one you bring to the table." He goes, "I don't hear no." I said, "What?" He goes, "I don't hear no. Like you can tell me no. If I'm selling something, you can tell me no. I don't hear it."
Wow.
He goes, I just don't get discouraged." I said, "All right, well, let's try this. Let's try it." Pretty simple answer, but a pretty blunt answer. Back to our earlier.
My last question is, what's it like to mentor a young people having not had that at that level in your adolescence? Like when you were young, like what's that like to have a Dom in your life when that was not something you had, based on the conversation around dad and everything?
Well, it's an opportunity, it's a responsibility, and it's a privilege all in one. And you have to be cognizant of, you can't let that get out of balance, because the moment that they don't appreciate it, then you're not investing your time wisely and you're pissing in the wind. But the moments that you are able to make a mark, those are things that last for potentially ever, right? So it's just like anything else. It's delicate. It's a dance.
Yeah. If you were to put a theme to this conversation, what do we title this episode?
Well, I think one thing that helps people understand what you do best, which I haven't really shared this with you, but the theme of this conversation, if we wanted it to stick with the individual listening or consuming, a lot of individuals want to build a brand. Brands are many times the most valuable thing you can do for an organization, because it's what people trust in the absence of the individual. A person can become a brand, but many times that brand, like Coca-Cola, nobody knows who owned or owns Coca-Cola, but they are familiar with Coca-Cola, right? Going forward, the more you integrate and include and craft the culture of the brand, I think the better off you're going to be, and the quicker that the brand will create a gravity to attract others. Because think about it, if BA focuses on the culture, then the citizen brings a citizen many times like them, where it becomes exponential in its growth without the effort of advertising and sales and marketing, because people want to belong inside of something that they believe in, but also represents them, right? So sometimes C comes before B, right? You built something great, but did you forget about the culture on the way in the door? And sometimes you got to go back to the C to make the B better, to make the business better, to make the brand better.
Well, Mike, thanks for this opportunity to live the Culture Matters values and get to know you better and have this conversation.
Pleasure. All right, let's do some push-ups.
Let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, as much as I like to sell and promote, Solve It All was our first product that I committed to one of the members. But quite frankly, I've got a gentleman who, speaking of apprentices and entrepreneurs, I've got a gentleman who is crafting some of the finest cigar boxes, cigar holders. These are made from some of the most exotic wood. And this isn't just any wood. This wood is wood imported from some of the far corners of America, made in America, but not readily available in America. This gentleman, I think he's 14, 15 years old now, doing flights with Tom Cruise. They share their pilot time together. It just goes to show sometimes something so simple, when done well, can get the recognition of others that just one relationship. Think about it. Tom Cruise says, hey, I really respect what you're doing. I love what you've built. Tom Cruise, I don't even think he smokes. But you know how many cigar cases and boxes that could sell? One relationship, the power of one word coming from one relationship could be wildly valuable. Most big things start small. So I just want to thank everyone for their time today and you for coming and spending your week with us. This is our first podcast. Board of Advisors. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good.